Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. The government has introduced 2025 draft amendment to the IT Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code last month. To discuss whether this amendment is enough and how it would help to make the platforms more responsible and us as citizens better in terms of saving ourselves from the synthetic content and the ills of the AI and digital world. Today, we have with us Advocate Gowree Gokhale, who has been a practicing lawyer for more than 27 years, specializing in technology, media, and telecommunications, intellectual property, and gaming law. She has been recognized in the Hall of Fame for TMT law and is listed among the top 100 lawyers by the India Business Law Journal. She has been serving as the co-chair of FICCI's Data Protection and Security Committee. Welcome, Advocate Gokhale, and thank you so much for giving time to us. Advocate Gokhale, the government has introduced 2025 draft amendment to the IT Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code last month. Uh, to begin with to set the context, I want to know from you what exactly the need for this amendment was.
Sure. So, as you must have seen, there have been multiple streams of development. The issue is not new. Let me put it that, just clarify, we are talking about deep fakes and synthetic information and all that for last maybe 4 or 5 years. There have been certain developments. For example, there was a case in the Delhi High Court, Rajat Sharma's case, which required the government to look at the deepfake issue through a committee, right? Even from an election perspective, there have been concerns whether, some material during election time is being circulated, which is hampering the electoral process, things like that. So these things have been, out there for a while. And in that context, and as the we also came out with the AI policy in the recent past, right? So it was probably a culmination of multiple things that led to this suggestions draft. But at the same time, I believe that this particular amendment that we are talking about is, so AI has various facets in terms of regulation, right? And what should be the way forward for regulation, etc. India is still figuring out, and some principles have been set out in that policy. This particular amendment is focusing mainly on the deepfakes or synthetically generated information being circulated on the intermediary platforms, and how do you sort of regulate, if at all, uh, how there is a transparency about such information that this is in fact SGI, right? So the focus is more in that context, because from a general public perspective who are consuming the content on the intermediary platforms, that is what that limited aspect, there will be so many other aspects relating to AI, but that limited aspect is getting covered through these draft amendments broadly.
I think you kind of answered my next question, where I'm just for my audience, I'm asking, like, what are the major three key changes if we want
Sure.
to kind of quantify this?
So first of all, definition itself of
Mhm,
SGI. What is SGI? Right? So that
mhm,
is point number one. Point number two, what is the user's responsibility in that sense when they are posting SGI on a platform, right?
mhm,
What is the responsibility of a platform? I'm going to use the word platform and I'll explain why I'm saying so. That
mhm,
is permitting generation of SGI, right? So
mhm,
suppose you take an AI platform, which they call intermediary, and I'll explain some, sort of confusion in the drafting. So an intermediary platform which is allowing the generation of SGI, what is their responsibility? And next stakeholder is the intermediary platform on which SGI is being posted. Correct?
mhm.
So these are the 4 5 elements that are getting covered, right, through these amendments, and we can go one by one, as we continue the discussion.
I think you have rightly differentiated it, because there is a lot of confusion when we say intermediary platform. Then people are expecting like places where we are posting, maybe Insta, Meta, whatever platforms, Twitter, X, whatever you call it. So that is, I would say, a good clarification where you're saying the platform which are making you able to generate SGI. That is one.
That
And second,
also, yeah,
that
that
also
is
is
also
covered,
included. Yes.
included. Was it not included earlier?
So that's an interesting thing. See, first of all, if you traditionally understand what is an intermediary,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is a pipe. That means intermediaries are not expected to do anything with the information. Intermediaries
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to only host information that a user is posting.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Now, imagine a platform that is allowing creation of SGI. Now that platform is not has existed in vacuum. There is a training that has gone behind it, right? There is a certain sort of input and output that is happening on that platform. So suppose I give a picture and I wanted to get it generated, that platform is actually working on the generation of an output. So whether that platform which is participating in generation of the content,
Mm-hmm.
putting very very simply, can it be called an intermediary in the first place as we understand intermediary in the traditional sense? That is my
Yes.
first question, which unfortunately has not got addressed. I mean, I don't think see, I'll tell you, I'll just digress a bit, to give the context. What has
Yes.
happened is Information Technology Act exists from 2000. Then that particular law had a certain construct, okay, and that construct got developed mainly in the intermediary regulations, because a lot of digital content is in fact regulated or posted on the intermediary platform, and they were regulated. Then you have a separate wing of the platforms, which is essentially the publisher platform. So if
Mm-hmm.
you recollect, back, into 2021, etc., those regulations came out to deal with the publisher platform who are publishing the content themselves. Now,
Yes.
the AI platforms have not been specifically categorized as such, if you ask me, under the IT Act, right? I mean,
Okay.
because they are recent ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening is you are using the old regulation of intermediary regulation and trying to push everything within that. The same thing happened when the gaming platforms came in. They were sought to be regulated without changing the main act, right? You
Mm-hmm.
are trying to push everything in the IT rules. That is unfortunate part, that when we are looking at a legislation or a delegated legislation, is this even a place to do things that you're seeking to do? It's itself is a question, right? So coming back now to your point, the point is the categorization of the AI platforms, whether are intermediaries or not, itself has not been addressed yet in my mind. And you are in this rule 3 actually saying that yes, they are intermediaries. Is that question even answered or not? That that is an assumption on the basis of which this rule has been framed. It's a slightly longish question but answer, but I wanted to give that context, holistic
So,
context for your
so,
observation.
so these amendments are trying to redefine intermediary here or not?
I mean, in a sense, they are trying to categorize AI platforms as intermediaries. I would put it that way. It may
Hmm.
be so, maybe right or wrong, but that is how they have gone ahead with that assumption.
So, what is your, I would say, if I ask you whether you want these platforms to be intermediary platforms to be called or not?
You know what? I think that entire concept of intermediary, this, that, I think we have come a long way from that.
Yes.
Right? There have been conversations also, like for example, e-commerce platform, gaming platforms, There are so many fintech platforms. I mean, if you really see, India has boomed with all these platforms, right?
Hmm.
So one approach would have the discussion has been move away from this concept. Look at function-based approach. What is the function or a service that platform is rendering? Basis that you align the regulations accordingly. So let's not get stuck with this concept intermediary, no intermediary. I'll give you an example. Now a cloud service provider is an intermediary,
Hmm.
correct? ISP is an intermediary, and
Yes.
then you have all these social
Hmm.
media platforms also intermediaries. right? But
Yes.
who's doing what function? Just look at that, right? So it has to be a function based approach. I think when the Digital India Act conversation had started, I think the government had indicated they may take that approach, but I mean, it's all confusion. It's not. I mean,
Yes.
it's not happened yet.
Yeah, I think these intricacies around policy and policy making would take their own time. Maybe
Yes.
we might pass on it. I hope we could. From the definition of intermediary, I want to
Yeah.
come to because the proposed amendments also are introducing SGI, synthetically
Yes.
generated information, and require platforms to label it.
Yes.
Now, on this ongoing debate, what qualifies as synthetic content? Do you find the current definition in the draft rules adequate and precise? If we
I
look at
think
that.
not, no. I mean, my answer to most of your questions are going to be no, I'm not happy with the definitions. I'll
Yeah.
tell you because if the
Uh-huh.
definition is very, very wide, two points on the definition, it's very wide. So I'll play it out, for the audience to understand. If a film is created with a VFX,
Mhm.
right, effects and
Yes.
all of that, it will fall in this definition. And I'm putting a clip or a
Yeah.
trailer of that, okay, on a social media platform for marketing purpose. I have to label saying 10% label to say, oh, this is
Yes.
synthetically generated. Does it even make sense? Right? So,
Yes.
what is it that, so, sometimes we have to work from the harm to the mischief to the law. This is not
Yes.
understanding what is the mischief that we are talking about, right?
Hmm.
And trying to put everything and anything in the same bucket, right?
I
So that
think
is
the
yeah, that is point number one. Point number two, if you see the last two, three words of this definition, it says such information reasonably appears to be authentic or true. Means what? Who has to whom does it so I think they're trying to do that deep fake definition, trying to sort of put something like that. It appears to be true, but appears to be true to whom? Who is supposed to determine whether it is true or not? It's a written information
Hmm.
versus digital sorry, picture information, video information, right? So if I'm creating
Yes.
say a news report, what happened with Dharmendra ji, Pichara Dharmendra ji's thing, right? It
True.
was complete
Hmm.
misreporting, correct?
It
Now,
was.
right? So, I mean, if so, are we suppose I generate an article and give it to AI to say, just make a little beautify my article, wordings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what do you mean by appears to be true in that? Because I'm doing a news report. So I think it's a very, very confusing way of looking at it. So it could have been a narrower definition, right? If you're
Hmm.
focusing on deep fakes, then focus to say that better define it. This is not giving any clarity in my mind on the definition part.
So ideally, if these uh, your our consultations are invited for this, and
Yes,
if today 30th is the last day, and if we
yes,
want to include it, we can also I would say specify about the definitions of what are
absolutely.
you calling the synthetic and what it could not be.
Exactly. So I think if they can clarify, see, sometimes, law doesn't, if you see the definitions, some of the other legislations, you say what is definition and
Hmm.
give exclusions also. What
Yes.
is excluded? So if,
Hmm.
it is, see, okay, I will also agree that it's not very easy to define. Okay.
Yes.
Because you want to cover the mischief for sure. But you can also demonstrate what is not included. Correct?
Yeah, I think
So, so exclusions can be added at least to give or give illustrations, something like you have a DPDP Act where they have given illustrations, or our old laws have given, even BNS has illustrations, Bombay Nyaya Samhita. So sorry, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So those are the thing,
Bharti.
Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So that is what we can sort of look at. I mean, tighten up the definition to put it simply. Yeah.
I think I would say the next question was about this only. Like, in your view, can labeling alone meaningfully address the harms caused by AI generated or manipulated content? And I definitely know that, answer is probably no in a way.
Yeah,
Only
see,
labeling
I
cannot
think,
be.
yeah, so let me put it this way, right? Those who want to create mischief, we are addressing those people. Okay. Do you
Yes.
really think that they are going to declare, yes, this is wrong and I'm putting it? I mean, let us be practical
Yes.
about it. Those who want to create mischief want to create mischief, and they will find a way not to label it, remove the labels. If there is if the AI platforms is giving you with the label, there will be technologies out there who can remove that label, right? And let us also understand this, again digressing, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. This law, who is it applicable to? In platforms within India, outside India? There may be some platforms who do not have any presence in India. They will not adhere to any of this. I will use VPN.
Yes.
I will go to those platforms, remove the labeling, right? I mean, all sorts of things are possible. So, are practically, if coming back an offender, are you telling that offender, leave your evidence with me? No,
They wouldn't.
then
They
they would
would.
not. So what is the point of of all this? I mean, therefore I feel this labeling has absolutely no meaning to it. Even practically, we'll come to that if we have time, but I
Mhm.
don't think it is going to solve the problem, if you ask my frank view.
Yeah. So what could be an alternative approach? Now, my next question would be when we are saying this is not enough. So what I would say, I know that this is a detailed subject, needs more, I would say, more information, more proven studies and everything. But what could be an alternative way to look at it?
See, I mean, the way I'm looking at this, and it is more about what type of mischief and the current law. Why is it not sufficient? I'll start with that question. Okay. The
Hmm.
current law already has a detailed takedown procedure, right? You
Hmm.
already have, and in fact, as you are aware, the government has already put across an SOP, and I may have some different view on that SOP. But if what are the types of content that we are talking about? One is the obscene content. You have a clear provision under this for quick relief, etc., for the from the platforms, etc. Right? So that is one. Second type of content is, say, defamation. You have a remedy in defamation also, right? All of that. Then the third content is, say, deepfakes, misinformation, right? So what I suggest today, what is happening? People are running to courts
Hmm.
for the purpose of removal of deepfakes,
Hmm.
correct? All the celebrities and all of that, right? That has become a trend. So, can you have a mechanism the way you have for obscenity, a mechanism for takedown, right? Removal of content, basically. Can you have better mechanisms of quick takedowns? That is one possibility. Because if you try to control at the offender level, they will do
Hmm.
everything possible to come out of that anyway if they have a criminal intent. You How will you control a person with a criminal intent with all these regulations? That is my
Yes.
fundamental question. You have all the laws. You have been having IPC. Are there no murders? Are there no assaults?
That's
Are there
true.
are there no accidents, whatever? So therefore, to try to control at an offender level by doing all these declaration, I don't think it's making any sense to me, right? So control where there is a mischief, where you can, user education. Again,
Hmm.
why? Because of
Hmm.
the reposting,
Hmm.
right? You could have better in India, we could definitely work on better fact check mechanisms, right?
Hmm.
Where if I and user awareness, and this is something I had gone to IIT Chennai once, and I was on the panel of misinformation, and I
Hmm.
asked people and IITians in the audience. I said, how many of you think whether a particular information is true or not before forwarding it? Just two hands went up. So user education to is extremely important, and somewhere we are missing out on that. Making people aware, and how then you have a better fact check unit availability, right? Where I'm able to check things before because ultimately the issue happens because of virality. One deep
Yes.
fake sitting here and there is not, and we talk about proportionality, right? The proportionality
Yes.
versus the actions, because all the digital laws, somewhere unfortunately we have to acknowledge the fact that the issues will continue,
Yes.
So the measures have to be proportionate to the mischief that we are talking about, right? So are there any measures to say, okay, platforms, you check the virality, right? If there is a virality of the content, then maybe a trigger to the fact check unit. I'm just playing it out. I mean,
Yeah.
as a
True,
blue
true.
sky
Mm-hmm.
thinking kind of a thought process, right? So
Mm-hmm.
is there some different mechanism to control at that level? Because I have absolutely, because 3.1b already existed ki you will not put this, you will not put that, notice to user, etc, etc, right? All 3.1a entire and 3.1b, have those things stopped? The answer is
They
no.
won't.
Correct. So these are my quick suggestions where we can think little out of the box, right? And
I think,
yeah.
yeah, so there I want to come to you when I'm saying alternative approach, and I want to look for its legal provisions, I would say. So and I'm going a little away from this. So, we have these financial services and we have this Consumers Protection Act and everything.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
Consumer Protection Act and the financial services, they also provide for a provision in the law when you are introducing something for user education and awareness.
Absolutely.
Are there any provisions in these things or the
No.
platforms or mobile? Like all of us are using mobile, you can put a case on its service whether it's working or not, but it's not working is not just it's technical working, but it's more
Yeah.
about if I'm using a mobile and a mobile is doing me a harm, can we I would say sue somebody for it?
That's a good question. See, unfortunately, if you see the deficiency of, I'm a consumer protection lawyer also, so I've
Yeah.
looked at this, right? So if you see the deficiency of service and defect, it's very limited. But interestingly, news also falls
Mhm.
in the definition of service, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
it does.
So can I sue a news publication, for example, in this particular case which I spoke about, Dharmendra ji, is that you gave me a wrong information. I got anxious. He's my favorite actor. I'm just
Hmm.
playing it out, right? So
Mhm.
right to accurate information is a consumer right.
Yes.
Similarly, when I say that freedom of speech and expression, slightly
Mhm.
going away, but as a context, when I
Mhm.
say freedom of speech and expression, can I argue that right to information is a part of that which has been discussed? So,
Mhm.
right to accurate information is
Mhm.
my right,
Mhm.
right? But the question is, who has to discharge that?
Yes.
Okay. So, one is the state itself, correct? And the laws which are given by the state, they have to ensure that I have that kind of accurate information, right? But that positive action will be very difficult to enforce.
So
Correct.
I think, yeah, definitely. So, if I'm just looking what you are saying from a perspective that I am a taxpayer and as a citizen of the state, citizen has some, I would say, I have some rights from the state. If I'm paying tax on buying a phone, on buying an internet connection, and if I'm subscribing to a service, I'm paying a tax on that. So, what is the duty of the state there? Or I would say, duty of citizen are
Right
fine.
to see, right to information, if you see consumer right definition, right?
Hmm.
That in my view slightly limiting. Of course, right to information about hazardous, I mean, it is more in a limited sense, right? Hazardous goods,
Hmm.
etc. So I think that consumer right, if unfortunately is not given enough importance.
Yes.
Enforcement of a consumer right to information, I think we need to do more on that, is what I feel, when I look at all this.
But are there provisions for it?
No, in this, so Consumer Protection Act does have, has that construct at least, right? But
Hmm.
in other laws, even the e-commerce rules that came out under the Consumer Protection Act, that
Yes.
tried to give me more information about the product service which is available on e-commerce platforms. So there is some work done there. I would not say no,
Yeah.
but if you want to bring it to back to this context, that in the context of information, one is the information about product and service, that we have some construct.
Hmm.
Information as a matter of information, on news and all of that, I don't think enough work is done there. And that is why I was saying that Can the state, the fact check unit, unfortunately, you know that the case that happened in Bombay High Court, the Kunal Kamra case, where
Hmm.
the government tried to do something, but there the issue was it was the government unit. You know, you in other countries also, when I was looking at this misinformation as a concept, there are independent agencies and India also has them. I'm not saying we don't have them, but they have not been utilized enough. Like some of the news publications also, they have a kind of a I think it's a WhatsApp service or something where I can send information,
Yes, we do. We
right?
can do.
But the awareness of that is not enough. Like I was helping some students, on this particular topic, and when I told them that it exists, they did not even know, right? So the younger crowd did not know that such some of these things exist. So I think more needs to be done insofar as awareness. First of all, creating a framework for fact check. That's point number one, right? And number two is this as the accessibility for that, fact check units and awareness for the
Mhm.
general population.
I think, as my last point, I would just so as you have also described that, for the obscene content and for the defamation, already we have provisions.
Right.
Now, what we are more targeting at is deepfakes, and deepfakes is also like largely, I would
It
say,
would get
focused on
covered.
these two. It would get covered, but
Generally, it would get covered under, under the broader framework of illegal content. Let me put it this way.
yeah, so these amendments are not bringing anything new in a way.
That's right.
Mm.
The only thing they are trying to push is the labeling. Let us put it this way, because existing law already tells us that what is illegal. This amendment can't tell you what is illegal.
Hmm.
Illegality is defined under various laws. Correct? You can't create
Hmm.
new illegality through the rules. Correct? It has to be a statutory law what is illegal, which is
Hmm.
parliamentary law. Correct?
Hmm.
Now we already have those what is illegal, everybody knows.
Yes,
Correct?
yes,
So what is it that this is trying to do is trying to bring in transparency by labeling, etc.
hmm.
Declaration, as a user, and I just spend a couple of minutes, how as a user I'm posting, every day, suppose 10 times. Every time I have to give a declaration, or even practically, how is it going to work when I'm posting something? Am I declaring every time? Am I taking a one time declaration? Nobody knows, right? What is the expectation? How, suppose I have created a content on platform A, okay, with
Hmm.
meta tags and whatever. It gives me, okay, declare, वो आ जाता है उसके ऊपर
जी.
10%, whatever. I am now changing that through some other platform B. I'm removing that declaration and then putting that content on platform C. How is platform C supposed to know whether I'm giving a correct declaration or not? There is no
Yes.
standardized thing out here, right? How will they know? Right? So, practically, I don't think there has been enough thought on this, right? And trying to put too much liability. Of course, they use the word reasonable efforts, this, that, and the other. Then that becomes a judicial determination whether there was a reasonable effort. All these things become very
Yes.
fuzzy. Correct? So they could have probably gone a self-regulatory way to tell the platforms why don't, because see, each platform, let us also understand, it is not standardized your plug and socket.
Yeah.
Okay. Each platform has its own technology, each platform has its own nuances. You have to give them the principles, right? And they'll have to work out how those principles can be adapted on their platform. Correct. This law is telling everybody to do the same. I don't think it can work that way. So, I mean, that is
So
the difficulty
yeah.
with this
So
law.
I
Yeah.
would say in my my I would say conclusory conclusion that the labeling is not, I would say, meaningfully or fully addressing the issue, but
Yeah.
is it a little step towards what we want to achieve?
See, as a concept, maybe more from a responsibility to say that, okay, but labeling also for what type of content. If I want to put a photo on
Hmm.
Instagram, okay, I'm beautifying little bit here and there and I'm putting.
Yeah.
Do
Putting a
I?
filter,
Is
maybe,
it not
yes.
my right as a right of expression to demonstrate how I want to be projected? Then I will label
Okay.
it. I'm just trying to understand, right?
That
So,
is
I mean,
it.
therefore, when you say is it an addressing issue, I don't know, because for what are you going to put label? It matters, and how will the platform know
Hmm.
what type of content I'm generating through their platform? This is one simple example. Now I may be using platform to make somebody look ugly and try to put that. Now
Yes.
how the platform is supposed to know this is beautification, this is making ugly, because I'm using the tools,
Yes.
right? So that's why I'm just trying to understand, how, when you say labeling, for what type of content, I have not been able to fathom this, honestly.
I think so. On the definition of intermediaries and definition of synthetic content,
One word to describe.
we have to work more. And these
Yes,
amendments, I might you as we have agreed, like they might look good in a way, a little step towards what we want to achieve, but it is not actually getting into that.
yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Advocate Gokhale, for your time, and
My pleasure.
that is it.